Alright, sup everyone. So today we're going to make some drum and bass, and I'm going to start from scratch here and just kind of walk you through my steps and my process of creating drum and bass. So hopefully you can create a dope drum and bass track as well. So let's get started, right? So we're going to start off with a BPM of like 174. It's pretty common drum and bass BPM. I kind of like to work top down, like to do drums, percussion, and then kind of work my way down to the basses. So yeah, drum time. So get started on the drums here. Yeah, I'm gonna want to try to find a nice kind of punchy hard kick, which is most commonly used for drum and bass, just so you have a good amount of room for the basses. So I'm just gonna go on the splice, hunt for a nice kick sample, and yeah. Right, so we found a pretty cool kick here, and I'm just gonna throw a drum bus on here. So the original kick sample sounds like this, right? Not really too much to it, but I just throw a drum bus on there and really hits those transients nicely, kind of tightens it up. So, and yeah. So yeah, now we're just gonna kind of create a drum and bass rhythm, and to kind of do that, you can also just put a metronome on, but most drum and bass patterns are pretty basic, right? Just like, right. So usually I kind of like the last bar of the loop. I like to maybe switch up the kick a bit, maybe add an extra kick in there, and then yeah, so this is our kick pattern here. Usually you don't want like a super big snare, you want just a relatively kind of nice snappy snare. So find a nice snare here. Right, so this is a nice little snappy snare. Just line that up here. Right. Right, so this is our kind of kick snare pattern here. Basic kind of drum and bass, right? You don't need to go too crazy with the loop. Just, you know, keep that drum and bass rhythm going, right? So I left a little gap here, you know, a little bit extra room for like a bass fill or something. And after you got that down, you can like add like a classic like drum and bass break thing on there. So we'll just do like drum and bass. And then I'm gonna try to find like some percussion loop, right? Yeah, and another trick that you can do to kind of tighten up your percussion, you can throw a gate on there. So this will kind of cut the tails down, keep everything a little bit tighter. Cool, so we got a nice little drum loop going here. Now we're gonna move on to the side chain. So I recommend either using like an LFO tool or like utility or something, just so you can shape it exactly how you want, not have to mess with the compressor and, you know, kind of guess. So this gives you a nice kind of like visual reference here. So I usually like to use, like, take up the big girth of the kick with the side chain and maybe leave a little bit of the tail out, right? It's kind of to your preference, whatever sounds the best. This looks pretty good for this kick, so I'm just gonna kind of line these up then. We got all the side chain lined up now, and now we're on to the fun shit already, right? The basses. So we got a loop, we got a nice little side chain here to kind of work with at the same time. Hopefully Ableton doesn't crash. And yeah, now basses time. Sweet. Yeah, so for the basses here, I always recommend doing that after you get the side chain and the drum loop done, just so you can see how everything fits, you know, with the side chain, because that can kind of mess with your rhythms a bit. So for key here, I might go D. Haven't done D in a bit. That'll be neat. I'll just like draw something out. We'll just go fucking crazy with the sound design. Just make a bunch of different basses and kind of see where that leads us, right? I might start out making a Reese, which all you really need to do is just have some slight detune between two oscillators here. Unison to widen it up. Some hyper. Right, so we already got a pretty thick respace here, so cool. We got a pretty cool respace down. Now we're just gonna kind of just make whatever we can come up with, and then yeah. So what I usually do is I use the LFO to kind of mess with the filters, and you can also do levels as well with it. Some level automation, which is good. Just kind of cleans it up a good amount. and you can just mess with the LFO shape, just do some cool patterns, just whatever sounds cool, right? We got one pluck variation. I'm gonna make a few different plucks here. Let's see what I like. Pretty cool pluck. Make a different one. Right, and I think we're gonna need some more sustain basses here. So we'll just kind of throw one of those together. Cool way to get those kind of growls, kind of even more dubsteppy things. Just throw like combs on there. Those always get like fucking screechy. I kind of want more of like a foghorn type bass, right? This is how we're gonna do that. So initialize. Alright, so now we kind of got a nice foghorn type squeal thing. And I think we could go for one more kind of good sustain bass. And another thing that you can do, which is pretty useful for kind of weird rhythms, is you can use the LFOs. They also have built-in like triplet and dotted notes. So if I modulate like the volumes here with this LFO, right, I can go to triplet notes. Right, which right, you kind of hear that in some drum and bass, kind of the weirder note rhythms there, so using the LFO is useful with that. Right, this is pretty fucking mean, so I like that shit, hell yeah. Right, so already we just created a bunch of random drum and bass basses here. I'll do a quick preview. This kind of sustain thing. Reese, then pluck. Another pluck here. Then we got sustain, another pluck. I'm personally really vibing with this one. I really kind of like this rhythm that this one has. So I think we're gonna go with that, kind of build off that. Yeah, so I'm gonna probably try to isolate it a tad bit more because I'm gonna want to layer a bit of a sustain on this. So clean it up. Now I'm just gonna go through kind of some trial and error. I'm gonna mess around with all these basses, see if I can come up with something neat. And usually, most drum and bass kind of starts with the one on like a sustain like this. I can kind of automate a pitch up here, MIDI control pitch bend. It's default set to only pitch up 2 semitones here, so it's only going to go up a tad bit. But let's say I want it to go up 12 so that it really pitches up. Right, so that's kind of like our A section of the drop. It's usually about 2 bars. Then we'll move over to the B. So our kind of B section is like gonna be like, I'm thinking I kind of want some like pluck action in here, so I'll like throw some shit down like this. Right, so we go. Right, so we got right, so we did this whole thing without any sub. Everything's cut off around 100 hertz, and obviously we're gonna have some little yucky frequencies still sneaking through because I got a glue compressor on the end, and it's, you know, just still gonna be pulling through some. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a sub on here. So for this, it's obviously a pitch up here, so that's why I duplicated it, so I have all that MIDI and everything there that's pitching up. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to take out everything in here, put a sub on here, and see, it's pitching up just like that one did, so it's going to follow nicely. But so I got a sub for that, then I'm going to probably want a sub for these as well. And also an important thing, you don't want the sub always hitting, so I always make sure to kind of cut it out every once in a while. It's coming out pretty nice here. So what I might do is, it really works really well with drum and bass, you know, those vocals, especially those splice vocals, they hit different. So I'll just hop on here, hop on the classical splice, and we'll just search some funk vocals, right?
Party, I just came to get my money right.
See if this has a chance of fitting. So
Everybody come to party, I just came to get my money right.
So that hits perfectly in this kind of B section thingy thing we got going here, right? It's kind of like this. So we got this nice drop here. Then I'm just going to show you again my little cheat code on how to make a perfect build for any drop, right? So what I'm going to do to make it easier on myself is I'm going to pull this on the grid here, because I always like working on the grid. And it's kind of hard to kind of reference things when you're not on the grid. I'm not at the pro level yet, so I prefer my grid. So what I'm going to do here is pretty simple. I'm going to take everything from the drop here. I'm going to hit Control D, duplicate that unit. Then I'm going to like color it a different color, and I'll just group all these together as well, right? So quick Control G. This will be my build group, right? And everything in the build group, drag that out to about here, and yeah, so this is everything in the drop right here. So this is what it sounds like. Okay, so what I'm going to do first off, I'm going to turn it down, maybe even like 4 dB, because we really want to focus on the contrast, because you don't want your build to be here and your drop to be here, right? You want your build to be, this one down here is your build, right? This one's your drop. Energy level, build, drop here. If they're matched, this doesn't drop. Nothing drops, nothing changes, right? So I'm going to turn the volume down a bit, and also what you can do to just kind of shitify your build up, you can take a little bit out of the high end too, even just a slight roll off. Take some brightness off. Right, so after you got that down, I'm just kind of brushing past this just because I don't want to waste your time with it. I'm just going to, you know, get some separate elements here, get it out of the groups of everything, and this is just going to be my build area, right? So I'm just going to... Right here, we're getting pretty close to the drop, so what I'll probably do is I'll just like get the snares in, just so the folks listening know it's drum and bass, right? Right.
Wanna step up, you can step up and get low tonight. Wanna start me, you should know that I don't want to fight. Anybody wanna step up, you can step up and get low tonight.
So anyway, that was fucking phenomenal. I really enjoyed making that track. That actually turned out to be one of the best drum and bass tracks I've ever thrown together. So hopefully that inspires you to make some drum and bass, because it's a dope fucking genre. And yeah, throw a little mastering on this unit and play it for you now. Subscribe if you enjoyed this type of video and shit. And yeah, dope. Here is the result.
Wanna start me, you should know that I don't want to fight. up, you can step up and get low tonight. Wanna stop me, you should know that I don't run from fights. Anybody wanna step up, you can step up and get low tonight. Wanna stop me, you should know that I don't run from fights. Anybody wanna step up, you can step up and get low tonight. Wanna stop me, you should know that I don't run from fights.